That would be so cool if they like. Oh, man, I wish. I wonder why more movies don't do that. Where it's like a crazy maze and you got to get out of it before it collapses or kills you, or like a monster.
Didn't what about Maze Runner?
Well, we do have Josh Hutcherson, so that'll be.
Super Media Runners!
Welcome to Super Media Runners. We run the media to you. I'm Jarek.
No, I'm Junior.
And John will not be joining us for this video of Pitch Runners. He will be replaced by Oogie Boogie. His little icon's going to have Oogie Boogie instead of John. So that way we don't get So today we have a very special Pitch Runners episode, but let's get to the summary. In Pitch Runners, we will go over cast, plot summary, and our whole movie pitch using Dan Harmon's story circle through the main character's journey. But before we take that journey, we must consult the studio deck. We pick one card and must do what the card says during the presentation of our idea. That this is a much different episode of Pitch Runners, Junior. Do you know why?
Why?
Oh, because it's Halloween. It's gonna be Halloween. Halloween in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But we wanted to do some our own what we would want to do for a like horror movie, like our ideas of a horror movie. So rather than grabbing a property, we're gonna be actually making up our own idea for a horror movie. Starting with me for this Friday, and Junior will be taking care of next Friday. So let's get it started. I'm gonna draw the card. I always try to put a Yu-Gi-Oh person on this. So we got limb loss. The main character must lose an arm, leg, or any body part by the end of your idea. All right. Don't see a problem with that. So nice. My horror movie premise, and I'm not going to use the story circle for this, so feel free to not to do it either, Junior. I mean, we can save that for the regular shit when we have to talk about things for like 30 minutes straight. But this is going to be my horror movie. So me and Junior and John, I practically forced Junior and John to watch Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which is probably the biggest exposure I've had to Dungeons and Dragons. And I just recently saw The Green Knight. Have you heard of that movie, The Green Knight?
The Green Knight? No, it doesn't even ring a bell. What is it?
It came out in 2021, actually. But
oh, shit.
It's a really, really good movie. It reminds me of Beowulf. I don't know if you remember that one. That CGI.
Yeah.
It's just one of those where it's like it does like fantasy, but like dark fantasy. And one of the things I feel like is always lacking, because we do so many different. There's so many different horror movies out there from different genres, different time periods, and they like kind of mix it up.
Yeah,
I've never had a fantasy like horror movie. I don't remember the last fantasy horror movie where it's straight up like Dungeons and Dragons, but it's scary. Like people are dying, psychological fear, stuff like that. And then I stumbled upon this game. I don't know if you ever heard it. Have you heard of this game? It's called I think it's called Fear and Hunger. Have you ever heard of that game?
Fear. I know Fear. I don't know Fear and Hunger now.
Okay. So Fear and Hunger is a recent game that just came out, not recent, but it's one of those like a recent RPG game where like there's a lot of like basically like darkness to it, where basically there's like you're a hero that goes into this dungeon that it's interdimensional, like Cthulhu kind of like gothic horror mixed with like fantasy stuff. And the deeper you go into the dungeon, the more fucked up it gets, or the more like psychologically like horrible it gets. And it's actually like part of the game system where you have to keep your sanity levels high, like, and your hunger low, so you don't start succumbing to what they call the darkness, and then it like kills you basically because you go crazy. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. I want to do a horror movie, a Dungeons and Dragons but horror movie. So that's kind of my premise. That's my premise. But basically, 4 people enter a horrible, psychological, dark dungeon, and basically they all get killed off like one by one, like Midsommar or what do you call it? What's that one that really messed up? Where the guy like someone decapitates themselves with piano wire. What's it? Hereditary. Oh, that movie. That's
Hereditary. Yeah.
So, but here's the four people I cast. So it's gonna be like kind of like the fantasy thing. They're not even gonna have names. That's how much I've already kind of like figured it out. So like Brad
Let's hear
Pitt,
it.
I have Brad Pitt. He plays like the knight, like the brave knight
Okay.
character archetype. Patrick Schwarzenegger, who is just recently in Generation V. I just started watching that. Really good show. He does an amazing performance in that. He's gonna be playing the barbarian, like the guy in like with the loincloth and the
Okay.
club.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay.
Then we have Tobin Bell, who is literally Jigsaw. He's 81, by the way. I just
Yeah,
looked.
dude, he's who is he? What, the
He's gonna be
wizard?
the he's gonna be the necromancer actually, because in the game
Necromancer.
he's a
Okay,
necromancer like who like
okay.
he uses demon magic instead of regular magic. It's demon blood magic. Like he has to like cut his finger to like summon like a freaking you know like some make his
Darkhold magic.
yeah, exactly. This is yeah, that's exactly what he's gonna do. And he might even like oh in the game by the way, there's like basically you can merge with like a skeleton or like a like a husk of a human, and it makes you
Uh,
more powerful or it makes you like more of like a monster. It's so it would be really cool if you did something like that.
okay, yeah. So yeah,
It's,
just like dark magic type shit.
yeah, it's like body horror, like fucking warlock shit. Yeah.
Cool, cool,
Then we
cool,
have
cool. All right.
Josh Hutcherson of Hunger Games fame,
Ah,
who
all right.
he's gonna be playing the thief or like the rogue character. You know, they always got
Yeah,
the
it was like a bowman or something.
yeah, someone with like he's really good at like stealing things and shit. So so the story is they enter this dungeon because Brad Pitt's daughter, who's probably like a maiden, like 18. By the way, Brad Pitt's like 60 now, and he does not look a day old. It's crazy. He's been looking like that for the last 15 years of his life. I wish I had that. But they enter this dungeon because they have to save his daughter who was kidnapped by one of these weird entities or monsters that like grabbed her and brought her into this dungeon. And he goes to this village, you know, it's like it's basically like there's shit everywhere, there's like dogs everywhere, and people are eating rotten food. Like it's like one of those it's like Resident Evil 4 going into like a Resident Evil 4 village and you're like, "Oh shit, everybody's like everything's rotting." People are
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
possessed
okay.
by something. So,
Yeah.
and he's like, shit, I have to recruit like three people to come to this dungeon with me because I know nothing about this dungeon. So he gets a necromancer, who is Tobin Bell, who was about to be hanged by crimes, and it's going to be implicated that it was, he touched one of the choir boys, and
Okay.
I want to make yeah, but obviously they're not going to reveal that in the beginning because then everybody would want him to die first.
Yeah.
So,
Sacrifice him.
yeah, he finds Patrick, Schwarzenegger's character, the barbarian, who's probably like, eating a piece of meat, like hunting like wolves in the forest, and he's like, "All right, I need muscle." He sees muscle, and then he gets like the thief and the rogue he finds in the town, like he's like stealing shit. He's probably like trying to steal something from him. He's like, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna help you, but I'm gonna do it for the treasure. So everybody has their own ulterior motives. Like
Of
so the
course.
knight looking for his daughter and he doesn't care what happens to him as long as he gets his daughter. Then we have Patrick Schwarzenegger, the barbarian, who's just he wants to do it for the thrills of killing, these monsters he's never
He wants a
seen in his
challenge or some shit.
yeah, he wants a challenge, right? And then they
Yeah.
and then they have Tobin Bell who feels like he needs to redeem himself or like keep himself alive because he was about to get hanged. So, but he has like this guilt and shame that you already know about, but the audience doesn't know about until like it becomes more and more like guilt for him. He's gonna have like he's gonna have like an epiphany, but obviously we're gonna have to kill him. That's CP justice right there. And then we got the
Middle-aged
rogue.
CP justice.
And then the rogue's just doing it for because he's a greedy son of a bitch. We have
Cheese
all these
pizza.
characters all in this dungeon, and as they go deeper, they become more like psychologically unhinged. And I think this is going to be like the biggest part, like the themes and like of as the the story goes on. It's It is basically like Saw if it was like in a dungeon, like a fantasy dungeon. Because
Uh,
it's like let's say it's like 4 floors, and every floor they go into, it's like the deeper into like this darkness and cave. They need torches to light up the rooms, and they're just trying to survive. And while they're facing off all these like dungeons and dragon monsters, like the really scary
yeah,
ones, like those beholders, like it's like the one with like the Medusa eyes, and then it got the giant eye in
yeah,
the middle, the
yeah,
big
yeah,
really
yeah,
hairy balls. Yeah, maybe one of those.
yeah,
Maybe like
yeah. Balls.
tentacles
Yeah,
coming from the
yeah, yeah,
walls. A
that's cool.
basilisk, fucking mind flayers, liches.
You need a
Okay,
fucking
maybe.
minotaur. That's what you need.
Oh yeah, like maybe they're like in the like one of those. Oh, do you remember that movie? What was it? Wrath of the Titans. You remember that
Oh yeah,
movie?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
Clash of
That's
the
a good one.
Titans. Wrath of the Titans, the sequel.
No, yeah, yeah, the sequel.
You remember that crazy ass like metal like stone labyrinth that would move around every time? Like
Oh,
that
okay,
would be
yeah,
that
yeah,
would be so cool if they like. Oh, man, I wish I wonder why more movies don't do that. Where it's like a crazy maze and you got to get out of it before it collapses or kills you, or like a
yeah.
monster
Didn't
comes.
what about Maze Runner?
Well, we do have Josh Hutcherson, so that'll be a nice nod. But yeah, so they're all pitted against each other because they're like dealing with all these monsters, and then they're dealing with like the psychological aspects. Like again, I want that theme where it's like the deeper they go into this like the darkness of the dungeon, the more like unhinged they get, the more paranoid they get. They start fighting with each other. Eventually, like all of them get picked off one by one by the dungeon. Like they maybe they get separated by their group, or they leave out of spite. Like maybe the thief, he ran into a room where there was a mimic, one of those giant chests with the big teeth on like, and he figures, oh
Dark
shit, there's.
Souls.
Yeah, he's like, I'm in the treasure room, fuck all you guys. And then he goes in, and then he's like, oh, I'm about to die, I probably shouldn't have been greedy, son of a bitch. So and then we
Well,
have maybe the necromancer. He realizes there's all these monsters and he's gonna die, but he's always like, everybody go, I need to pay my debts. And so he does all this cool like Doctor Strange, like multiverse of madness demon summoning, where it's like all these demons he summoned, but like he ends up dying by them because he sacrifices himself. So he'd have like a sacrifice, but obviously everybody knows he did a horrible crime that nobody should be doing.
all right,
And
nice.
then we have the last character, the barbarian, and so he's still having like a good time, like killing all these monsters, but like he realizes like he's on his last legs, and so but and maybe it's more of like that's what I like about the boys. Honestly, the boys they're really good at doing that like male, what do you call it? Like flipping all the male characters from these like macho badasses and kind of like really deflating them and making them realize how pathetic and self-conscious they are. So I kind of want that with like
Okay,
with Patrick's barbarian character. He's this barbarian.
yeah,
He wears the skin of this monster that he hunted, and he just thinks he's this big tough guy. And then like maybe he gets separated again by the with the knight, Brad Pitt's knight, and he's starting to like realize, no matter how many like of these monsters he kills, it's like he's not gonna get out. And then he starts getting tired, and he's never felt these like felt weak before. So he's just he doesn't know what to do with himself, and maybe like the knight helps him, and he's just like, no, I don't need your help, and I don't need your help.
fucking Vegeta.
Yeah. So and he just realizes he's just as pathetic as a barbarian as he is a man, and maybe that's kind of where he kind of dies. He dies being a coward because he didn't want to face the facts that he can't always kill everything. He can't always kill monsters. But that's kind of what I wanted to do with that. And then okay, so this is I'm getting to the ending and the twist. So, he gets to the knight, which is Brad Pitt, gets into the
Yeah,
deepest part of the dungeon. He faces off the challenges and the fights. And so he never fights the like whatever, like I'm gonna call it like a shadow demon knight. He never fights the knight that like kidnapped his like, his daughter.
yeah.
And he finds her, but like maybe like some voice tells him that the only way you can free your daughter is to take her place. And so he takes his so he like, he thinks about it for a moment and he's like, all right, fuck it, I'll take her place. And then he, she gets freed and he like kind of sees her, but she doesn't know who he is. And so he's like, "Wait, you don't you know who I am? I'm your father." She's like, "You're not my father." He is. And he turns and he sees that the shadowy knight that was the one that took his daughter in the first place. It was
Yeah.
him. It was him. So this whole thing was like this magical time loop where he is like going down there to save his daughter, and then he saves her only for her to be, it was him. Like it's him, but it's like kind of like an alternate dimensional timeline where it creates that loop where once he gets trapped in the dungeon again, she gets saved by her father, and that father was actually the guy that originally kidnapped her, and it just becomes this sick loop where he's like, no, I need you, and he keeps grabbing her and bringing her back into the dungeon, but he doesn't realize it's him. And it's kind of like, I don't know, I guess it's a metaphor for, you know letting your children go and be the person they want to be, like let them be their own person. He was known to be this
Yeah. Okay. So.
overprotective father, but like he's like trapping her with him every time, and he doesn't realize that he's doing it until it's too late. So just a really big downer for masculinity, toxic masculinity,
Okay.
disguised as a horror dungeon movie. So I would like to see something like that. That would
No,
be
it's
really fun.
pretty cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like it.
Yeah. Oh, and he loses his leg. Sorry, I forgot to fucking
There you
say
go.
that.
All
He
right,
he
bet.
loses it in the middle of the movie, so he'll like probably need everybody's help at some point. It could be
Okay.
like Guts. Maybe he gets a cool metal arm, like Guts.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Okay. I see you. All
Okay,
right.
so we're gonna do. Oh, you gotta critique me, my dude.
I gotta critique and judge your shit. All right. So, so kind of what you're describing is a game I actually play. It's called Darkest Dungeon. You ever heard it?
No, I've never heard of it. Is what platform?
It's on Steam. It's an RPG. Kind of. It's like cartoony, not cartoony, but it's like drawn art style. So like the premise of that game is that it's in medieval. It's like in medieval times too.
Mhm.
And to be honest, I haven't really paid attention to the fucking story, but basically, you there's like a coach, and every time you go back to base, there's like a coach with like people that you can take on to your party. And there's like there's knights, there's like bounty hunters, there's like gunslingers. There's this one guy that I forgot what his name is, but it's like he's like in shackles, and you could use his chains to like stun and damage the monsters. But at the same time, he has this one move that like he transforms into like a creature, kind of like a werewolf type thing. And before you go on these quests or whatever, or these dungeons, you have to use the money that you got from like previous quests, previous dungeons, and you have to buy like food rations. You have to buy torches to keep everything lit. Um, and while you're in the dungeon, if they get affected by the dungeon itself, so there's like a stress level, and the higher it goes, you know, the, the point of the game is like you're supposed to keep the stress levels down as much as possible, and if it gets too high, they can actually die of like a heart attack. Like it's funny. It's pretty cool. I don't know. You should check it out. It's pretty fun.
All right, I'll give it a look. Awesome.
Yeah.
Wha-
But anyways, Brad Pitt. I don't think he would be a good knight, in my opinion. I feel like you need someone more muscular. Someone I don't know how tall he is. Do you know how tall he is?
I think he's 6 foot something. Yeah, I'll
All right,
put his.
maybe. All right, maybe. But I don't know. I was thinking of someone like I don't know who's
Would be a good
tall.
knight.
Oh, maybe what's his fucking name? The guy who played in Twilight, the vampire guy. What the fuck's?
Edward Cullen?
Yeah,
Oh,
he
that's
been
not
getting
even
nice.
this. Wait, Edward Cullen is
That's
the
his
name of the
character.
vampire. Sorry.
What the fuck's his name?
Yeah, let me look it up. Twilight, right?
Yeah, I can't think of his name. I think he's pretty tall and he has that kind of
Oh, Robert
seriousness.
Pattinson. Robert
Yeah,
Pattinson.
because he was Batman, right?
Oh yeah, not yeah,
Yeah,
recently too.
yeah. So he has like
Dark.
that seriousness kind of. Because Brad Pitt, I think he's like more of like a, I don't know, like
You can't see him
not this.
wearing
I can't
giant
see him
metal armor.
in this kind of dark type of movie.
That's Brad Pitt. Do you remember that movie we saw with Brad Pitt? Do you remember that movie? It was called Moon, I think. Do you remember that movie with
Moon.
Brad
No,
Pitt?
I don't. No, which one's that one?
It was like this noir sci-fi movie where Brad Pitt has to find his dad, who's like a fucking like trying to kill like the sun or some shit, and he goes through this like space journey where he goes from the moon, he's fighting moon pirates, and then he goes into this abandoned satellite where there's these test baboons that like try to attack him. I remember seeing this movie with you.
Dude, what
It
the
was the
fuck?
weirdest fucking
I have no idea what you're
so
talking.
depressing. Yeah. But
No, I
I
don't
think
know.
he can be he could be in depressing movies. I think he's got the role for that. But yeah,
I don't know.
I
That's
know.
just my opinion. That's just my opinion. And let's see, what else can I critique? So, I well, for your whatever pitch runner you got, the card lose a limb or whatever. Um, you should have done it on the thief guy as he was
Wow.
opening the chest. It's a mimic and it rips his arm off or something, and then he tries to escape and maybe he does. They try to patch him up, and then he just I don't know dies from infection or something. I don't know or something grows out of him or something. I don't know.
It was not the main
What else?
character.
So lose a limb.
It's limb loss. The main character must lose an arm, leg, or
Oh,
make
main
it.
character. Fine. All right, fine. Never mind. And then I kind of like your plot twist. Where I was thinking that you were gonna go was that um so the knight's like the last person standing. Everyone else is dead.
Right.
Um, he finally goes, and where his daughter is, and it's already too late. Like he sees movement, he sees her, he's happy. He's like, yes, this is worth it. And then as he gets closer, he realizes that she's dead. And
Yeah.
and so like she's dead. Whoever's controlling her is like a puppet, uh, demon, necromancer, whatever, and is just
This sounds
controlling her.
like a Dead Souls, like a Dark Souls boss.
Yeah, something. And then he finds out he um he kills whatever demon it is, and then I don't know. I was just thinking he just kills himself. I don't know, out of guilt or something, because knights are like they're righteous, they're proudful, they can't do wrong, and then finds out his daughter's dead, and he realizes that he's worthless, that he's not righteous, that he sucks as a knight or whatever. He just gets so depressed and then he just kills himself.
Sounds like somebody was reading too much Berserk. So let us know your horror movie ideas in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And happy Halloween, guys! Cannot wait for you guys to hear Junior's movie idea next week.